Am I actually mining over 30,000 mobile tokens every single day? What's going on, everybody? It's Chris with Committed 3D Tech, and I'm finally mining mobile tokens using Helium's 5G hotspots. So in this video, what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about the process, getting the hotspot and setting it up, all the ins and outs of that, the pros, the cons, the good, the bad, the ugly. We're also gonna talk about my earnings and where I see this project going and what I plan on doing going forward. Now, of course, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do that because I'm going to continually be putting out content on 5G. And I'm also gonna be reviewing lots of other things, everything from crypto to tech to investing platforms and all of the like. And of course, if you're interested in getting your own FreedomFi 5G hotspot and outdoor small cell, there will be a link down in the description. Use my code C3D and you'll get $25 off. And with all that out of the way, let's get to the video. First things first, I do want to thank Helium Deploy because they are actually the whole reason that I was convinced to start mining 5G. Full disclaimer as well, I am a part of their affiliate program and they did send me this FreedomFi 5G hotspot and the small cell for free. Of course, now that I have set it up and experienced it, I am actually going to be purchasing more small cells and more FreedomFi 5G hotspots and installing them in various locations. And I'll explain my thought process behind that. And also I want to test out the difference between outdoor small cells and the indoor small cells, which I think is going to be really, really educational, not just for me, but for all of you as well. And that was kind of my hope with this, is that the reason I have this channel is because I want to put the proof in the pudding. I want to be able to show people what's happening instead of them going out and spending 2,500 bucks of their own. This is an opportunity for you to watch, see my experience, someone who's not super skilled in hardware. Even though I do have a lot of experience in crypto and mining, I'm pretty much just a normal person who likes to take engineering terms and put them into normal terms that we can understand. Let's talk about my setup process. Getting the hotspot and the small cell from Helium Deploy, it was like that. It was so fast. My biggest holdup was when I was trying to order one of these. Now, this is a non-invasive antenna roof mount. The reason I chose to do it this way was because I live in an apartment. And so I didn't want to do any invasive drilling or anything like that. So my whole setup is going to be a non-invasive one. Now, drilling holes and setting it up that way is actually the easier way to do it. A buddy of mine actually reached out to me and wants to start mining one of these. So we're gonna be doing an install at his home and we'll see. I'm hoping that he lets us do some filming and put some of that content out into the world of YouTube. I'm gonna go through it step by step of what my process was like. Like I said, my biggest holdup was with this non-invasive roof mount. I ordered it, and 2 weeks later, it still hadn't shown up, and the company reached out to me and said, hey, Amazon actually sold too many of these, and we're not gonna be able to ship it out to you. They canceled the order the next day, and I was forced to find another one. So I ordered another one from Amazon. Unfortunately, that one did not come with the mast, which, to be honest, wasn't that big of a deal for me. But I was honestly I was so urgent to set this up because the genesis period for mining mobile, the clock was ticking. It only lasts 100 days. I started mining when there was only 40 days left. And so really, I did miss out on a huge chunk of earnings. And I'm still gonna miss out on a bunch because, to be honest, I wanna add more 5G radios so that I can make more. Now, keep in mind too, like that doesn't mean that as soon as the genesis period is over, that the earnings are gonna go to scrap. To be honest, I think there's actually a big use case for this. And I'll tag a video down there. There might be one up here as well that I talk about why I see the viability for 5G in tandem with a LoRaWAN network. I honestly don't think that there's room for only one decentralized company doing this. We have lots coming out. There's Pollen. Also, as a lot of you know, I've been doing business development for MXC Foundation and MatchX. And I see huge potential in these other companies. So it's important to note too that I'm not really a handyman. when it comes to things. I am good at figuring things out, but I don't know like the ins and outs of home repairs or installing things. To be honest, I have a lot of trouble with that just because I don't have experience in it. So when I got this antenna mount, it didn't come with any hardware. I was kind of disappointed about that, but I did end up going to Home Depot. Even though I measured how big the slots were, I miscalculated it. And so I had to go back not once, not twice, but 3 times to get the right screws for what I needed. Now, as far as the mast goes, rather than getting a mast holder and a mast, I decided to just get a PVC pipe because that gave me options to make mistakes and get messy a little bit. Now, given when I build my own home, I'm gonna install one of these way more professionally. Even now, I'm taking time to learn what different setups require different things and the ins and outs of it. So after I set up the roof mount, normally you're not supposed to put your small cell on this first. You're supposed to just set it up in a window and set up the FreedomFi gateway and hook everything up before you actually install the antenna outside. Since this was just done on my balcony, I figured I would get the small cell all set up, and it ended up being a good choice for me because most of the troubleshooting happened inside the home rather than outside of the home. I'll show you here, I actually ran my Ethernet cable through the window. I used a flat cable, which I don't believe is recommended. These cables do have to be Cat 6 or higher because they need to be able to send and receive over 100 megabytes per second of data. So that was something that I learned along this process. It has to be Cat 6 or higher as far as Ethernet cables go. But once I got the small cell set up, it was actually pretty easy. The only issue I ran into with the FreedomFi getting it set up, I was using a Cat 5 Ethernet cable, and since it wasn't sending and receiving speeds of 100 megabytes per second, it actually wouldn't, it didn't connect to the internet, even though it was plugged directly in via Cat 5. I learned that pretty quickly, that I needed to use a Cat 6. Luckily, I had a bunch of those on hand, and I was able to do that. I was able to hook up the FreedomFi gateway. That process is extremely easy. I'll tag a link for that down in the description. They do it step by step. Now, I will also add that I did get a lot of help from the 5G CBRS channel on the Helium Discord. The guys in there are super smart, super helpful. At the end of the day, I was extremely grateful for them. And so if any of you guys and gals are watching this, I genuinely appreciated you helping me out. And I know a lot of people watching these videos who want to install 5G miners, they're gonna reach out to you and they're gonna appreciate your help as well. So once I had everything hooked up, I went onto the Bobber app and I saw my miner. The problem was my internet speeds were under 100 megabytes per second. And so I quickly realized that the problem was I was using a port rather than directly connecting to my router. So while my internet speeds are 300 megabytes per second up and down, because the ports were wired with Cat 5 cables, they can only send 100 megabytes per second at most. And usually they will be lower, even if you add a QoS rule on your router settings. I'll talk about that in a little bit, because that's important. And I know a lot of people who've installed 5G miners are gonna look at my setup and be like, dude, you're such an idiot. But you know what? I worked hard on this. I overcame a lot of obstacles on this setup, and I'm really proud of what I did, especially for someone who is not technically savvy at this type of stuff. This is new to me. The original Helium Hotspots were so easy to set up, and that's why I loved them. But to be honest, after setting this up, I felt really accomplished, and the first time I saw the rewards come in, it really just gave me a lot of satisfaction and feeling accomplished. So the big question, how did I overcome that issue? Well, there were a couple options. Number one was to plug my FreedomFi gateway directly into my router, which was all the way across my apartment. That wasn't gonna happen. So I started looking into other options. One option that I found was using an MOCA adapter. Now, what this does, it basically takes the Ethernet connection directly from your modem and allows you to use cable coax cable, the same stuff that you use for your cable TV. It allows you to use the coax cable to send and receive internet directly to and from your router. So that's exactly what I did. I plugged it in and immediately it worked. And so I was really, really happy about that. I'll show you the setup here. It's pretty cool what I was able to do with that. Yeah, if any of you have questions on that, comments, concerns, or compliments, make sure you leave those down below, because I'm always more than happy to answer those. Now, even though I was using the coax cable and the internet could go faster, I ran a speed test and it still wasn't sending and receiving the signals as fast as I would like. And so what I did was I went into my network settings. Usually you do this just by going onto your internet browser and typing in your the IP address of your internet router. Your internet service provider should provide you with credentials to log into this. A lot of times they're actually just listed right on the modem and router. So a QoS rule is basically where you can tell your network settings, hey, this specific device, I want you to prioritize that for either upload speeds or download speeds or both. So those QoS rules are really, really important because your small cell radio needs to maintain speeds of 100 megabytes download, 10 megabytes per second of upload, and less than 50 milliseconds latency. Now, of course, if you are experienced with LongFi Helium miners, you did experience the issue with port forwarding as well. That's a security measure. And so I didn't even hesitate. I didn't wait to do that for the FreedomFi gateway. I put port forwarding on it immediately. What you do is basically you port forward it to 44158. So that's another thing that you want to keep in mind as you're setting this up. So after that, all I had to do was register my small cell. One issue I did come up with was that I wasn't able to log into FreedomFi gateway.local. And that's just because it takes time for your gateway and small cell to onboard. And so they say give it 24 hours roughly. You can also just type in the IP address of your FreedomFi gateway, and that will give you access to this dashboard. Now, for me, my radio dashboard didn't show up right away. And so I just let it sit there until the next day, and it showed up, and I was able to go in and register my radio. The process for this is pretty simple. Once again, I'll have a link for the instructions and setup down in the description. You're gonna need to take 2 to 4 photos of your setup, and they'll look something like this. And then you need 3 different measurements. Number 1 is the height of your radio. And you can do this multiple ways. The easiest way for me was actually taking out a tape measure and just measuring it. If it's higher than that, you can actually use Google Earth Pro. The second thing you need to record is the azimuth angle. And you can do that by using this NOAA. It's a web app. And of course, you'll need to take a picture of that for when you register your radio. And then finally, you need the elevation angle. Now, I'm an iPhone user, so real simple. You can just use the measurement app. Once again, you're just gonna set it on there and take a picture of the angle. Now, I was real particular to make sure that my phone was lined up very, very accurately, just because I didn't want any issues with registering it. I didn't want them to come back and I have to wait another 3 days. I really just wanted to jump on the Genesis period as soon as possible, and I had already been put back so much. Now, the cool thing after that, it only took 3 days for my registration to come back. Now, something that I did do though was I emailed FreedomFi support. They didn't know that I'm a YouTuber, but it felt like they expedited my registration process because I did that. Now, support team down at FreedomFi, don't hate me for saying this to people. I'm just hoping that it helps some of you when it comes to that. It can take anywhere from 3 days to a week from what I've heard though. So pretty much after a weekend of installing this setup and registering the radio, I was mining mobile tokens. For the Genesis period, the rewards come in roughly at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every single day. I'm currently sitting at over 38,000 mobile tokens. And that's only from 2 days of mining, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. If you go to the Bobcat website, they do have an estimator. They changed it a little bit. They've always had the disclaimer. Like, obviously they can't tell us how much mobile tokens are gonna be worth because that's not in their power to say. But what they did was they tried to make a modest estimate of 0.004 cents per mobile token. Anyone who's been around for Helium tokens, you've seen there was a huge upside from when they weren't listed on exchanges, when they weren't on the market, to when they actually came to the market. It was pretty wild. And I learned my lesson. For those of you who don't know, I sold 5,000 Helium tokens for less than $1. Yes, I kick myself about that. Fortunately, I put that capital into other investments. It performed extremely well. It was Shiba Inu token. And so I can't really complain about how that performed. But I did learn my lesson that patience is a virtue when it comes to this. And so I plan on hodling my mobile tokens for the indefinite future. Rough estimate, $0.004 per mobile token. I'm earning roughly $147 daily. Now I'm gonna put a couple caveats in here. Number one, if you're not interested in getting your hands dirty, this probably isn't for you. Keep in mind that this is gonna be a little bit of work. The more knowledgeable you are for things like home improvement and remodeling, it's probably gonna be easier for you. Anyone who has experience with like security system installs or satellite dish installs, you're gonna be just fine. Number two is that this is all speculative. Like, I don't know how much mobile tokens are actually gonna be worth. The bottom line is I've been through this before, not just with Helium. I've been through this with MatchX and the M2 Pro miner. I've been through this with Crypto.com. I've been through this with so many different platforms and projects, XYO and the Coin app. Out of all of my experience, looking at this, I see a huge upside. I see huge value in decentralizing 5G networks. Now keep in mind, they have huge partners, Google Ventures, T-Mobile, and that video that I told you I'd tag down in the description talks about that. I didn't even know T-Mobile was partnering with them before, but the way it's working right now is T-Mobile's going to fill in gaps for the Helium 5G network to provide this coverage. But eventually what's gonna happen, it's gonna be the other way around, where T-Mobile is coming to Helium and saying, hey, we have dead spots, we need your network that's covering those now. And so it's a very synergistic partnership with, honestly, a company that is a behemoth in the telco industry. And so to say that I'm bullish on this 5G network is just an understatement. Obviously, we'll see where it goes, but my plan as of right now, like I said, get more radios, get more gateways and install more radios in different locations, and just do everything that I can to up my earnings. And once the mobile tokens go on the market, once they become live and exchangeable, we're gonna talk about it. Like I said, if you want to get your very own FreedomFi 5G hotspot and outdoor small cell, I suggest using heliumdeploy.io. If you use my link down in the description and use code C3D, you'll get $25 off your order. And I also love them too because they're doing lots of cool things, like they just gave away 1 million mobile tokens and lots of cool promotions like that. I just love the company and I see a lot of value in that. Of course, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do that because I have lots more content coming out on 5G mining, on crypto, tech, and investing platforms, and all of the like. Make sure you turn on the notifications bell because that way, anytime I come out with a new video, you'll get notified right when it happens. With all that out of the way, I'm so grateful for all of you who watch my videos from start to finish, who smash the like button, who comment and support me. I don't make these videos to make a living. Even though it's given me an opportunity to do that, the real reason I do it is because I want to bring value to you. You're the reason that this is all possible, and I genuinely appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. So thanks for stopping by. My name's Chris with Committed 3D Tech, and we'll catch you next time.